Hi, everybody. So it's my fourth live chat of the day. Some unexpected things happened today. So, as always, just a reminder that this should be about Abby and Libby and hopefully getting justice for them. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, we're headed in the right direction for the families of Abby and Libby, and also for Rick to find out if he truly is Bridge Guy. And now he's being accused of being the killer by the prosecution, who filed updated charges today. So, I will get to that in a second. As always, I have spreadsheets. I believe I have slow mode on. I might not actually. I might have forgotten to do it. So you might see a message where you can't send a message for 30 seconds. That's just to slow down the chat because people have said it gets kind of fast. Moderators will ban anybody in the chat who's being rude to anybody. So just be polite so we can hear what your thoughts are. People in the chat, you can click the name of an annoying person and block their messages. You don't have to wait for a moderator to do it. Or if you want to reply to somebody directly, type the @ symbol. And as soon as you type like the first letter of somebody's name, everybody in the chat who has that first letter of their screen name should pop up. You can select them and then write your message directly to them. But that message will be public. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Anyway, don't hate other people who have different theories or suspects in you. If I don't highlight your comment, it does not mean I disagree with you or I dislike you. I mean, I might, but it means I never see a lot of these comments because there's too many comments. So don't be offended. I try to mix up the comments, the topics as much as possible. In the top left of the chat, it defaults to show top chat, but you can change it to live chat to see more comments. It should show you all the comments. I try not to curse, but I can't promise anything. And if you curse in your chat message, I won't highlight it because I don't want to put bad words up on the screen. Please write ISC in the chat when you want to indicate Indiana Supreme Court. Don't write SCOIN or else I'll be triggered. What's my next slide? Oh, yeah. So let me get to this. I'm going to get to this in a second. Hi to everybody. Hi, Jerry Lynn. I haven't seen you in a while. Hi, Simulation. Hi, Jamie. Yeah, people don't like when people who host live chats say hello to 15 people. Hi, everybody around the world. Thank you for joining. So today, what happened? The Indiana Supreme Court had a hearing, and a guy named Mark Lehman represented Rick and essentially Baldwin and Rosie, trying to get them reinstated. The second issue was to get Judge Gull removed, per Rosie requested that motion to disqualify a while ago in October. Third was to get a speedy trial within 70 days. So it seemed like the Supreme Court did their homework, luckily, because getting a decision on this was very important. And they released their decision soon after. So I'm going to share it with you. Please stand by. If I can find it. Uh-oh, I closed it. Please stand by even longer. Here we go. So I think they're going to issue something longer at a later date, but obviously this was very important to get out as soon as possible before my live chat. So Loretta Rush, she was the woman in the center of the 5-justice court panel today. If you watched the hearing, I did extract the 1 hour and 3-minute hearing from my live chat earlier. So if you want to look on my channel to watch the entire hearing, it's listed there. Published order. The relator, Richard Allen, seeks relief from this court under the rules of procedure for original actions. Relator has requested a permanent writ of mandamus, asking this court to 1, order the trial court to reinstate his former counsel, Baldwin and Rosie, as his court-appointed counsel. 2, order the trial court to commence relator's trial within 70 days from the issuance of the writ. And 3, remove the special judge from relator's case, aka Judge Gull, and appoint a new special judge. Having considered the written submissions and having heard the arguments of counsel, a majority of the court votes to grant the petition for writ as to relator's request to reinstate Baldwin and Rosie as his court-appointed counsel. So Baldwin and Rosie are back as Rick's lawyers, and Librato and Scremin, I guess, are either happy or not happy. They don't have to drive 10-hour days anymore. The court unanimously denies all other relief sought. So they granted number one, Baldwin and Rosie are back. They denied that Gull should start Rick's trial within 70 days from the issuance of, I believe, this published order today. They also denied removing Gull from the case. The pendency of this matter in this court does not stay the proceedings in the trial court. I'm not sure what that means. Somebody else probably does. So that wasn't the only thing that happened today. I guess I might as well get to this next thing. McClelland added more charges to Rick. I do have two different documents here. I guess I'll show this one. This is like the more granular version of it. So this is, I believe, like 9 pages here. So filed up here says January 18th, count 1, murder, a felony. McClelland says that on February 13th, 2017, Richard Allen did kill another human being, to wit, victim 1, while committing or attempting to commit kidnapping, all of which is contrary to the form of the statute in such cases made and provided, to wit, and then it has this number, and against the peace and dignity of the state of Indiana. That's 1. So then he lists these various witnesses who are people on the trails and various law enforcement. Count 2 is essentially the same thing. Richard Allen did kill another human being for victim 2. So it's the same exact thing, I think. 3, murder. Richard M. Allen did knowingly or intentionally kill another human being, to wit, victim 1. Again, this is the same stuff here. Count 4, murder. Again, Richard Allen did knowingly or intentionally kill another human being, victim 2. Count 5, kidnapping. McClelland says that on or about February 13th, 2017, Richard Allen, while armed with a deadly weapon, to wit, handgun, did knowingly or intentionally remove victim 1 by fraud, enticement, force, or threat of force from one place, to wit, the Monon High Bridge, to another place, to wit, a wooded area. And then again, down here, it's just like basic, I don't want to say mumbo jumbo, but let's say that. And then finally, essentially the same kidnapping charge for victim 2. There is something else that is more detailed, which I'm going to get to in 1 second. Deb's True Crime Notebook, thank you. You're so polite. Deb has her own channel. I suggest you check it out. She's a lot sweeter than me. Shelly, thank you. You're still on morphine from the hospital? Kidney stones. All right. I hope you feel better. So I'm going to show 2 more pages. Where are we here? Here we go. After I do these 2 pages, I'll talk to you guys and show your comments. All right, so this is filed today, the 18th, at 10:30 a.m., which the Supreme Court hearing started at 11 a.m. So this is filed by McClelland. State's motion for leave to amend charging information. Comes now the state of Indiana by McClelland, respectfully ask the court to for leave to amend the charging information filed in this cause means case, on October 28th, 2022, and in support, therefore, does aver. I don't know if he made spelling errors or if that's some kind of legal talk. So here we go. Let me take a drink. Number one, on October 28th, 2022 is the day that Rick was formally announced as being arrested. The state filed a charging information alleging these offenses: murder as outlined in count 1 and murder as outlined in count 2. So 1 for each victim. Number 2, the defendant was arrested on October 26th, 2022 by a detective within Carroll County, aka Tony Liggett. Number 3, the PCA, probable cause affidavit, executed by then detective, now sheriff Tony Liggett, and filed by the state on October 28th, 2022, identifies acts of murder on or about February 13th, 2017. I don't know why they're saying on or about, but okay. It obviously happened on the 13th. Number 4, the discovery, which for people, some people tune into my live chats from around the world and they say they don't speak English as their first language. So the discovery means evidence, cause means case. The discovery in this cause also revolves around acts of murdering occurring in Carroll County on that date. Number 5, the charging information and the probable cause in this matter reflect the charge of murder under this, I guess, Indiana statute, it's called, commonly referred to as felony murder. Specifically, that Richard Allen did kidnap victim 1 and victim 2, Abby and Libby, by force, and in the process of committing that felony kidnapping, both Abby and Libby were murdered. Number 6, the state hereby moves to amend the charging information to add additional counts, which include murder under this other statute. So here it says felony murder has a 2 in parentheses, and this one has 1 in parentheses, which include murder for both victim 1 and victim 2. Give me a second there's one more page. One second. Sorry, I should take off Shelly's, her morphine and her kidney stones. 1 second. All right. I'll zoom in so you guys can see this, and then I'll get to your comments. And I have more PowerPoint stuff. So with kidnapping under this statute for both Abby and Libby, number 7, the state is asking the court for leave to file these amended charges because the charges more accurately aligns the charging information with the cause's discovery, aka with the case's evidence and probable cause affidavit. See this long numbers. Because of the clarity of the evidence and the probable cause affidavit, the defendant has been on notice since the beginning of this case. 8, that this amendment does not prejudice the defendant's substantial rights. 9, that the trial for this matter is 9 months away, giving defense adequate time to prepare to defend the amended charges. 10, finally, that this amendment does not substantially change the state's theory of the case. I think that's all that's important. However, number 9, that the trial for this matter is 9 months away, giving defense adequate time to prepare to defend the amended charges. So how's that going to affect Baldwin and Rosie previously saying they want the trial within 70 days? Well, I don't know. So I'll get to some of your comments and then I'll go back to some PowerPoint stuff. Hi, until tomorrow. Didn't know how it ended, and I'm quite surprised. There was so much BSing in the beginning. Yeah, so Baldwin and Rosie are back, and Gull stays, which I was saying in my member live chat, there's going to be fireworks and it's not July 4th in the courtroom. So what's next in the case? The last thing that was filed, or actually the last major thing, was the Franks memo, which is trying to get the evidence from Rick's house on October 13th, 2022, suppressed. So is Gull going to finish reading the Franks memo? She's had how many months? Oh, wait. Exactly 4 months ago is when they filed that. September 18th to January 18th. That's as good as my math gets. Anyway, I don't know. So it's going to be interesting to see what's next. I think we've all come to expect the unexpected. Obviously, last week, Librato and Scremin filed this motion to transfer saying they're driving 3.5 hours each way to Wabash Valley Correctional Facility, where Rick has been transferred to from Westville. I don't know what's going to happen. Are Baldwin and Rosie going to file another motion to transfer, which Gull has already previously denied, saying, I want to leave it up to the Indiana Department of Corrections to decide where it's best to house Rick. I don't know. I agree that, I mean, some of those conditions about meeting with his lawyers, that's not acceptable for anybody to go through that. So we'll see. Hi, Paul. I've always been 50-50 as to whether Mr. Allen did the crime or not. The news today with the new charges made me wonder, what do they have on him? So I guess I'm going to share something else. Hold up. Wait a minute. Let's see. Let me just take this off so you guys can see this better. Sorry for my technical slowness, but it's not easy to share some of this stuff. All right, so if you guys read the Franks memo / manifesto, page 129, Liggett testified there is no DNA linking Rick to the crime scene, and he is unaware of anything that links Rick to the crime through his phone, computers, or electronics. Liggett testified he's unaware of any evidence that links Rick to any weird religious cult group. So this is referencing last August 2023, Baldwin and Rosie deposed and interviewed Liggett and Holman, and then in September they did Lesenby. Holman testified to these following 7 things that are very good, pointing towards Rick possibly being innocent. There was no DNA linking Rick to the crime scene. No DNA extracted from Rick's phone connects him to the murders. No DNA, sorry, no, I don't know if I just messed that up. No data extracted from Rick's phone. No data extracted from Libby's phone connected Rick to the murders. There is no evidence that Rick is or was connected to any other suspects in the case. There is no evidence found on social media that connects Rick to the murders. There is no evidence extracted from Rick's computers that connect him to the murders. There is no fingerprint evidence that connects Rick to the murder. So even in that Franks memo, the defense referenced something where in this August deposition, despite this good information for Rick, Holman still said something along the lines of, well, why don't you ask your client, Richard Allen? He's the one who killed Abby and Libby. So despite all this seemingly good information for Rick's innocence, as of last August, Holman still believed that Rick was the killer of Abby and Libby. Hi, Matt. Tom, I don't agree with you always, but respect you. Thank you. I'm glad to hear other people's opinions, just as long as everybody's respectful to each other. Why would Nick McClelland wait this long to file these charges? He would have been at trial already. Well, it seems like they were waiting. Obviously, the trial was supposed to happen January 8th. We were still waiting for some kind of decision on the Franks memo to see what was going to happen with the motion to suppress. So it did not seem like the trial was going to happen January 8th. And other people have said that it seems likely that the defense, even after the Franks memo request or the Franks hearing request, they could have filed other stuff to try as many different options as possible to get the case thrown out. So obviously we know that McClelland said sorry, I say these things as they come into my mind. McClelland said in, when did he say this? October, there was this discovery for the discovery deadline was set for November 1st. And McClelland said in October, I've already given all the evidence over to the defense. So, I mean, I guess that's a good point that you're saying. Why did he not upgrade these charges in October, November, or December? Why did he wait for 30 minutes before the Supreme Court decided if Baldwin and Rosie are staying? And also if they were going to set the 70-day trial? I don't know. Yeah, so what other evidence could there be that McClelland feels very strongly that Rick was the killer, not just bridge guy? Thoughts? I've said this a few times, and I'm probably wrong, like a lot of stuff. So it seems like the other actors that McClelland referenced in November 2022 could have been because they got Rick's DNA and they knew it did not match DNA found at the crime scene, which we've never been told really exactly what kind of DNA there was and where it was and stuff like that. But there's obviously been some kind of DNA at the crime scene. Could this is one of my speculations, and as I said, it's probably wrong, but it's just something that popped into my mind. So Libby wore her black and gold Delphi swimming sweatshirt to the trails that day. I'm almost certain Kelsey, her sister, who drove them there, said at some point that in the back of her car, she would keep jackets and sweatshirts. So just a possibility about this unknown DNA. Could Libby have been at a sleepover or an athletic event where her sweatshirt was off? And she said to a friend, hey, can you hand me my sweatshirt? This other girl picks up the sweatshirt and transfers her DNA to the sweatshirt. Libby throws the sweatshirt in the back of Kelsey's car. The day they're driving to the trails, Libby picks up that sweatshirt and puts it on. I don't know. I'm sure people in the comments are saying I'm wrong, but that was just a possibility to me. Could McClelland have figured that out somehow, or law enforcement? I don't know. That's probably not true, but that was just one thing that came into my mind. Uh-oh. Oh my God. Something to say. Hi, thank you. I had a dream about you last night. Yeah, some basic rules that I did not include in the beginning. No dreams about me, and stop watching me on your family room large TVs. Only watch me on small cell phones. Thank you. Somebody said that her husband was yelling at the TV based on something I said. In my last motion to transfer live chat, I said something about if Rick goes to county jail, will he be in general population? And this woman said her retired police officer husband screamed at the TV that there's no general population in county jail. So if you scream loud enough, I can hear you. So thank you. Something to say. $10 doesn't get much at Taco Bell. Thank you. But thank you. What was I talking about? Nothing important. Oh, the DNA. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think that McClelland could have gotten that he feels so strongly that nobody else killed Abby and Libby but Rick? I'll take this off and show my ugly mug. JMS. Something linking him from the search of his house. What could it be? They were talking about Rick's, let's see. The quote here says, Holman testified there is no DNA linking Rick to the crime scene. So is there DNA linking Abby and Libby to Rick's car? Or does that, the way that the defense worded it, was that strategery, as George Bush Jr. would say? Is it strategic, trying to make it look like Rick's was not connected at all to the murders, when in fact it seems like Holman and McClelland are pretty confident that he was? I don't know. Hi, Diana. Nice to see you again. Hi, JD Coop. But they know it's male DNA. Where did you ever see that? I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying, I mean, I'm fine with my theory being proven wrong, but I've never seen that they know a specific sex or gender. Sorry. Hi, Susan. Nice to see you. Matt says McClellan brought in a new prosecutor, correct? Yes. His name is Jim or James Luttrell, Luttrell. He is a former prosecutor from Indiana. Gen Z Finance, can we talk about number 7 in this thing? Quote, because of the clarity of the discovery and probable cause affidavit, the defendant has been on notice since the beginning of this case. It's possible Bolton and Rosie did expect this. Well, is that the reason why they want to get all the evidence from Rick's house thrown out? I would think so. General White Honky. Rick is either the smartest criminal ever or the unluckiest man alive. I don't know. I mean, how did he not leave his DNA at the crime scene? To me, there are certain things that point to his innocence and other to his guilt. And I've been looking into some things recently, and he's seeming more guilty to me. I don't think that he, I don't know, was being honest about being on the trails from noon to 1:30. I'm going to show it in a video coming up in the next few weeks, maybe, which I don't have any proof of it, but I don't know. I'll explain myself further in a few weeks. Explain yourself further now, Tom. No. Brown-eyed girl, hi. It's always nice to see you. Thank you for your generosity as always. Hi, Dave. Nice to see you. Thanks for becoming a member. DNA King. So this is a good segue into what I'm going to show next. DNA King is a defense attorney. At least that's what he says. I'm kidding. My God. He's using exclamation points. If they have none of that evidence, then what do they have? Just an unspent round? If that's all they have, then this is unlawful arrest territory. I don't know. I've stated previously that in my evidence against Richard Allen video, car data, the computers on cars have a lot of data. So if they were able to retrieve that February 2017 data from Rick's car, and it shows that he only turned it on starting at 1:20 or whatever, and he turned it off at 1:29 when he parked at CPS, then turned it back on at 4:02 p.m. after if he was the guy on 300 walking back to his car, and then he turns it off like 10 minutes later when he gets home. What other evidence do we need to show that Rick was lying about being on the trails from noon to 1:30 and that he's not involved? As a member of the jury, that data would get me to be pretty convinced that he's not telling the truth. I don't know. So I'm going to jump to this real quick. If you watch this hour-long hearing today, you were discombobulated like me because there are certain terms that were referenced. Okay, here we go. So DNA King, as I said, he's a defense attorney, and he was nice enough to provide some explanations of some of these terms and cases. So I'm going to just spend the next 2 or 3 minutes reviewing this. I'll make it a little bit, I'll try and make it bigger. All right, there we go. So there's just 2 slides. So if you heard the word Strickland versus Washington, a 1984 U.S. Supreme Court case that says if you have a lawyer sitting with you at counsel table during a trial, that does not satisfy the Sixth Amendment right to counsel. Under Strickland, you have a right to the effective assistance of a lawyer. Lawyers have been found ineffective when they sit in court and have slept during trial, asked no questions, or were drunk. He also wrote hi in my in his email to me. Most of the time, when a Strickland claim is made, it is unsuccessful. To get a conviction reversed, a prisoner must prove that the lawyer made a poor decision that was not based on an informed investigation into the facts and the law of the case, and the poor decision actually prejudiced the prisoner. In other words, it actually influenced the jury in its decision making. Next up, you may have heard the term structural error. Most of the times when there is a legal mistake made by the trial judge or the state, the prisoner must prove prejudice, aka that the mistake somehow affected the trial in a way that hurt them. However, if you have a structural error, it doesn't matter whether there was any prejudice. Except in some very limited circumstances, structural error results in a new trial. It doesn't matter if the jury was influenced by the error. Gull's lawyers stated they are afraid Rick will claim his lawyers were ineffective if he loses and is found guilty. So the judge gets to replace them with Librato and Scremin. This is an incredibly weak argument. The lawyer for Baldwin and Rosie said it was structural error to deny Rick his lawyers of choice. This is 100% correct. This lawyer clearly won the argument. And again, this is just one of my YouTube subscribers who is an attorney providing this information. This is the second of the two slides. There's a lot of people talking about wheat and gluten in the chat before. Wheat is a U.S. Supreme Court case. If a lawyer has a known conflict of interest, that lawyer may not represent the defendant, even if the defendant waives the conflict. Example, if someone killed his attorney's child, that attorney can't represent him, even if the defendant waives that conflict. In a case like this, the trial judge has discretion to make a decision to remove the lawyer. As long as there's evidence to support the decision, it will not be overturned on appeal. Delphi is not a case with a conflict of interest because there is no reason to believe Baldwin and Rosie wouldn't do their best on behalf of Rick. So because there is no conflict, wheat does not apply. A judge has no authority to oversee the performance of trial counsel as a case progresses. A judge can review a previous trial and determine ineffective assistance of counsel, but single mistakes usually don't lead to a conclusion of constitutional ineffectiveness. It takes a review of the whole case in order to determine whether there was ineffectiveness. You can't review the whole case until it's over, so the trial judge can't simply remove lawyers during the course of trial based only on their performance as lawyers. Finally, about these new charges filed by McClelland, in some ways you can look at this as like a safety net. If the state can't prove felony murder for some reason, they can still convict him on a lesser offense. Also, if they convict on kidnapping and lose on the murder charges, he still goes to prison and the state gets to claim victory. So thank you to DNA King for sharing your experience and also your generosity. Hi, Aspen Connor. Everyone show Thomas some love and embarrass him. Wait, what does it say? I need to read these before I highlight them. Oh my God. Everyone show Thomas some love and embarrass him by hitting that like button and subscribing if you've been living under an Odinite and haven't already done so. Odinite is a mineral, not a person. I'm saying you did it right, Aspen. P.S. Tom loves Thor. Oh my gosh. I do not have any Thor face tattoos. All right. Next embarrassing comment. Billy Wolf, Tom is Odin. I don't think so. Hi, Reagan. It's not an unlawful arrest. Calm down. Hopefully people in the chat are being calm and respectful. Hi, Little Butterball. I think they are going by Ballistics maybe. So you're saying that McClelland is now saying that since Rick's unspent round that matched Rick's gun was found 2 feet from the girls, they think that's going to convince the jury that Rick was the killer and the only killer. I don't know. I mean, there's been so much talk about this ballistics evidence not being reliable. However, I mean, I've thought, like, what if it is reliable and this unspent round came from Rick's gun? that means Rick is not innocent. So I don't know why some people are so quick to dismiss this as being totally unreliable. I don't know. I'm sure there's going to be. I know that the defense team has already made a request to hire an expert to basically say that it is not reliable science, that is junk science. So we'll see. Charmaine, I always appreciate you. Thank you so much. Are you going to Walmart this Saturday? All right, sorry. Shelly says, I think it's something from the Wabash River search. Well, from what we heard, there wasn't anything really of value connected to Delphi. I don't know if they found a knife or a phone, or we still haven't figured out what happened there. Some people have said they spent over $1 million over that 5-week search. First of all, how does it cost $1 million to go swimming? Oh my gosh. Sorry, some of this stuff I just improvise. Anyway, it's been almost 7 years. Yeah, it's been 7 years, February 13th, since this happened. And 7 years since they raided Kegan Klein's house, and there's still no charges for Kegan or his dad. So it's not looking like they're involved. And also in the Franks memo, the defense never once brought up Kegan Klein, his dad, or Ron Logan. So does that mean that there's no evidence that the defense came across that would point towards their involvement? If the defense is trying to put blame on anybody but Rick, why not include stuff pointing towards Ron Logan, who's dead, and Kegan Klein or his dad? No TVs. I'm not kidding. Hi, Melodramatic Monday. Do you think it could be something he said in the infamous phone call? So that was April 3rd. So that's a hell of a long time ago. Why would McClellan not have upgraded the charges in May? That's my thought on that. General White Honky, I think the bullet, that's general, right? I think the bullet match was all they had. I don't think so. I mean, they have this 1:27 p.m. Hoosier Harbor Store video where they said it matches Rick's car. There's two different versions or more versions of the PCA. In the first one, they said it resembled Rick's car, and there's another version that said it matches, or it appears to match. So if they were able to say, we matched Kelsey's car with the Hoosier Harbor Store video, we matched the 3:57 p.m. person's car, witness 4, and this 2:28 p.m. witness of the car at CPS, if police were able to match 4 other cars looking at the Hoosier Harbor Store camera, who's to say they could not match Rick's car? Based on the way this case has gone, I'm not really anticipating that video to be very clear. And if it turns out that there are some differences between that 127 car and Rick's black Ford Focus, I'll be PO'd that they insinuated that it was Rick's car, but we're going to have to wait for the trial to see. Does anybody have that video? Send it to me, please. Oh my. Aspen recently got a Tom Webster face tattoo because Sonny Justice said I couldn't wear my Sluther Vandross patch anymore. Oh my God. Somebody needs to ban you. Elle said, oh, I don't like to, all right, I'll improvise. I think the prosecutor realized he messed up the original charges, and this is him trying to fix his mistake. I don't know, like, what's the difference? Do we want Bridge Guy to be identified and held accountable? That's all I want, is Bridge Guy to be identified and held accountable. So the charges that were filed against Rick October 28th or October 26th, that would identify Bridge Guy. They said he was Bridge Guy. So to me, I don't know that that necessarily is true, that they messed up, but it does seem weird that over a year later, they're now changing it. And as was pointed out before, McClelland had all the evidence supposedly 4 months ago, or 3 months ago, sorry. Why did it take so long to upgrade or add more charges? Oh my God. Hi, Tiff. I ate Taco Bell on Saturday, but I didn't think of you. Sorry. Maybe next time. JD says they would have said the DNA was female. They said Bridge Guy was male. They assumed the DNA was Bridge Guy. Yeah, I don't know a lot of stuff about DNA, different types and testing and stuff like that, so I'm not going to act like I do. Hi, Cinder. You can arrest someone on circumstantial evidence, no? His timeline, his clothes, his likeness to the video is a lot. I agree. And as I've been thinking of this noon to 1:30 timeline, hello, you guys. Like, Rick leaves at 1:30 wearing jeans, a dark jacket, something covering his head, and like a few minutes later, like at 1:26, these girls, the juveniles, are around a bench towards Freedom Bridge, and they start to leave, and around 1:30, they see somebody coming from Freedom Bridge. So why did Rick say he never saw a Bridge Guy? Hello? Seriously, I'm trying to figure this stuff out even more, which I don't know, it's just not adding up to me that Rick would not have seen Bridge Guy. Like, if Bridge Guy did not park at so you've all seen like the map looking down of like Freedom Bridge, Hoosier Heartland Highway, and like the top left, there's this large parking lot that a lot of people park there to start the trails and walk over Freedom Bridge to the Monon High Trail. And the top right is the CPS building. So if Bridge Guy did not, we don't know for sure, but we know that these 4 juveniles pass a guy who essentially, not all of us will agree, but I think that was Bridge Guy. So where did he come from if he's coming from Freedom Bridge? Where did he park? Where did he walk from? If he parked at CPS in October 2022, did Rick tell Liggett, yes, I saw another car parked at CPS? I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff that's not really adding up to me for Rick being truthful and innocent. I'm open to him being innocent, and I'm waiting for the trial to hear and see all the evidence, but right now it's not looking too good. Plus this confession, which just saying the word confession, people are screaming at their TVs. Oh my gosh. Shelley says Nick has to have some kind of evidence to amend the charges. Yeah, well, he talked about the discovery, and so obviously it seems like there's something he felt like he could convince a jury of these more, I don't know, isn't this murder charge more difficult to prove than just Bridge Guy kidnapping? Let's see. Hi, Tids. Thank you for staying up late in the UK. Oh my gosh. Dave, have you changed your mind? I thought at one point you thought he was not. Dave says, in my opinion, I think Rick is guilty, but I'm not sure they're going to find a jury that will all agree. I agree with you. I don't know. I just want the truth to be revealed. My concerns are, one, Rick is guilty, but a jury member, or for some reason, he is not found guilty. Two, Rick is innocent, and if he's found, first of all, if he's innocent and found guilty, that's horrible. But if he's innocent and he's found innocent, that means the police don't know who Bridge Guy is, and they have no clue about who did this. And after 7 years, what's going to change that would find who did this? I don't know. Those are my concerns. Hide the simulation. That's a very good idea. Yeah, this is where I really don't watch other trials, but Alex Murdaugh, who killed his wife and his son outside near their like dog kennels, I did watch part of that trial and I was extremely impressed with the car data, which he had the OnStar system, which seemingly is more detailed than Rick's Ford Focus. But I did look online and I think it's the Ford has a Sync 3 technology, and it should at least provide decent details about what was happening in Rick's car, including if he opened the trunk at any point and exactly what time. Because it happened 5.5 years later, I don't know that that data was overwritten or not for Rick, not Murdaugh. Um, Rick only lived a few minutes from where he worked at CVS. So is that good for recovering that data? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see at the trial. Also, I'm sure we're all interested about the phone data. Rick said he was looking at a stock ticker. What is this phone data going to show about his activity on his phone? Will it show exactly where he is? I don't know. The defense they obviously did not have all the evidence when they filed the Franks memo in September. If they had some kind of data proving that Rick was at home at 1:35, they obviously would have included it at some point now. So I don't know that the law enforcement even has that to provide it to the defense. DNA King says if it's regular nuclear DNA, the amalganin, put me under pressure here. The amalganin result will tell you whether it is XX or XY, which tells you whether it is male or female DNA. But is it a case if it's not sufficient sample that they would not be able to tell that? Yeah, smash that like button. Thank you, Susan. Hi, sweet dude Shibby. When did you say that? You said that 17 minutes ago. Wonder if cars store 5 years worth of data. Yeah, so you read my mind. Let's see. Cinder makes a good point. They got to find that interview. No, I'm just shaking my head at some of the incompetence of law enforcement. We know the conservation officer talked to Rick outside of a grocery store. He said he thought he recorded all of his interviews that he did for the Delphi case, but he can't find Rick's interview, like the one he can't find, I guess. So I want to know, did he record them on a cell phone, and why would police not use this like cell phone data recovery software to try and find this extremely important interview, which is going to show if Rick truly said I was there 1:30 to 3:30 during his 2017 interview, and then 2022 is like no, noon to 1:30. I don't understand why the conservation officer was not taking all of these audio interviews, the recordings, and handing them in to law enforcement as evidence. Why, like 6 years later, is it an issue? I don't know. Hi, illegally blonde. Yeah, some people in the chat are talking about, was Libby targeted more? She obviously was found without clothes, and from the Franks memo, it said that Abby had on top of her clothes, she had on Libby's jeans and Libby's sweatshirt. Obviously, Libby's tie-dye shirt was in the creek. I don't know. Some people have debated, was Abby redressed? Was she killed while naked and then redressed? What I was thinking is obviously police should know if she was found with two bras on, and somebody said she was maybe stabbed also in the chest. So I would think that there would be some kind of knife, whatever, the shirts or the clothing would have been cut in that area near her chest. I don't know. Shelley says, that was interesting from your lawyer friend. Yes, thank you, DNA King, for sharing your knowledge. Hi, Anne. There's a reason a defense team would deliberately turn a trial into a 3-ring circus. They know that without all the distractions, their client's guilt is clear as a bell. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see a lot more evidence and hear Rick's supposed April 3rd phone call. What did he say to his wife repeatedly? Hi, Danda. I've been here. Where have you been? You haven't seen me in your dreams? Sweet Dude says, Berserker tramp stamp. Just kidding. I don't know what you're talking about. Hi, Wom Tepster. Let's see. What about the case, actually, that people want to talk about? Hi, Randy. Randy says they have end item keeping until the hearing start. Are you saying police have an item of evidence that they're keeping secret until Rick's trial starts? Malibu says, I would be surprised if they did not find something at Rick's home, especially in the shed in the yard. I don't know. I've heard various rumors, and quite a few of them have been wrong. We've heard that there was this cat dug up for cat hair matching the crime scene. That appears to not be true. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. What would Rick have kept? Obviously, in Ron Logan's, whatever, his search warrant, it said, what did it say? It talked about souvenirs. And even in the Frank's memo, I think it said, or no, the PCA or some kind of legal document, it said there were underwear and sock. Yeah, in Ron Logan's thing, it said underwear and sock were missing. So I don't know. I'm kind of confused about that because in the creek, if you guys have seen these two photos, and one, as you're looking at it, on the left is Libby's tie-dye shirt. In the middle is some kind of white object, and on the right is one of her black and white Nike sneakers. I don't know if she was found obviously without clothes. So is the middle item her underwear? In one other photo, there's like a peach, pinkish orange colored small item that looks like it might be a sock or underwear. So I don't know, why would they say that the underwear and sock were missing from the crime scene if they were found in the creek, but not say also the tie-dye shirt? I don't know. Time will hopefully tell at the trial. Anne says, do we know for sure there's no DNA? Is that in the actual case record somewhere? Just asking. I've seen quite a few law enforcement interviews, including Doug Carter, who said there is DNA. Obviously, it's not been good enough to do some kind of genealogical testing up to this point. Caricature Contest says there's no DNA in the probable cause for arrest. We'll see what they share in trial. Hi, yikes. Yep, discovery investigation never ended. We don't know what they have now. Sorry, just joined. Yeah, but McClellan said that they handed over all the evidence last October. And then we know that obviously when the Franks memo came out September 18th, and they accused the Odinists based on law enforcement officers. Actually, even before that, I guess law enforcement heard that this was going to be I think it's called third-party guilt. When you hear about the strategy of third-party guilt, I believe it means Walden and Rosie are saying the Odinists killed Abby and Libby, not Rick. I lost my train of thought. And most of my thoughts aren't worth finding, so that's not a problem. Kel, Ty, why are there more than one version of the PCA, and how does one find them? If you if you downloaded all 118 of the unsealed documents that Murder Sheet had or helped get unsealed back last June, I believe, well, I numbered them my own way, so I don't know if this is just my numbering or something else. For my numbering, it's 52 and 59 have updated PCA information. I forget which what the headlines were. Not headlines, but which motions. Maybe look in like Nick McClelland asking for mental health records. Sorry, that's the best I can do right now. I'm kind of busy. JD says, Nick McClelland said that Rick admitted to the charges on the phone. Nick did not say Rick confessed to murder. Yes, he did. Wait, sorry. Let me see if I can find this. I'm looking for the thing where McClelland referenced this phone call. It's not looking promising. Oh, I found it. Wait. Here we go. Some people are going to get triggered. Get ready. Sorry. Isn't Gray Hughes is probably doing a live chat. Go watch him. Here we go. Nick McClelland says, on April 3rd, 2023, Richard M. Allen made a phone call to his wife, Kathy. In that phone call, Richard M. Allen admits several times that he killed Abby and Libby. Investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard M. Allen admits that he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offenses as charged. So at that time, he was charged as being bridge guy and kidnapping, essentially the guy who said, guys, go down the hill. His wife ends the phone call abruptly. Below that, I pasted from a different motion from the prosecution, but it's also the same thing, essentially. That the defendant has admitted that he committed the offenses that he is charged with no less than 5 times while talking to his wife and his mother on the public jail phones available at Indiana Department of Corrections. Hello, that doesn't look too good for Rick. I mean, I know there's some context, and somebody said they were a emergency room nurse, and people who have depression, which Rick supposedly has had since he was a kid, sometimes have delusional episodes and thoughts. However, to me, as a jury member, the defense has said for 5 months at Westville, Rick was fine. That's what they said. In their April 5th motion to move Rick out of Westville, they said he was fine for approximately 5 months from November through March. Not until April 3rd did he go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like, seriously, like, as a jury member, not only that phone call, but what happened right before the phone call. In the Franks memo, it said on April 3rd, the intern and the private investigator for the defense went to Westville to meet with Rick. What did they talk about? DNA King, I referenced this previously in my live chat. I'm wondering if at the trial, can the prosecution force the intern and the private investigator for the defense to testify what they presented Rick with, what kind of documents, specifically anything that might have upset Rick, or can they just talk about essentially what their discussion was? I was looking at the discovery, some of the discovery deadline documents, or actually may have been the Franks memo, where the defense referenced when they were receiving discovery evidence. Before April 3rd, the last time was sometime in February. So I'm wondering why it even took over a month for the defense to even present Rick with evidence related to his case. And just to me, if the prosecution, for people who don't know, Rick's jail cell at Westville has a video camera on it 24 hours a day. There is no microphone. So if we're told and presented by McClelland at the trial or the jury. We're the jury. We're all invited. I'm the foreman, obviously. If McClelland's shows, okay, April 3rd, Rick met with his attorneys, or the intern and the investigator. He was given, according to Westville warden, Rick did not start showing like mental issues until after, it said the day after he was given legal paperwork. So if they show Rick coming out of his cell April 3rd to meet with the intern, he comes back an hour later, and this is just me speculating to say, like, this could be a possibility. An hour later, he comes back with papers in his hand. He sits in his cell looking at the papers. We've heard also that he was wetting down paper and eating it. Was there something on the evidence that Rick saw and said, there's no way I can explain this away? I'm going to be found guilty. What is his body language at this time before he picks up his tablet and initiates a call to his wife? The prosecution said he had been calling his wife up to 2 times a day for months. After this phone call, when his wife abruptly hangs up, he had not talked to his wife for at least, I believe that document was dated April 20th. So for 17 more days, he had not communicated with his wife. So what the hell happened? He was fined for 5 months. He meets with the defense, reads some papers, and then as an innocent man, he picks up the phone or tablet and calls his wife and his mom and says, I'm a child killer. As a jury member, that does not look good for Rick to me. It just seems so suspicious with the timing of meeting his defense team and getting paperwork. I don't know. Am I wrong? I'm sure some people would say I am, but if I'm on the jury in the deliberations room, I'm going to bring that stuff up. Hi, Matthew. Most people fall asleep. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I don't use Ambien. Ambien helps you fall asleep. I always think it keeps you up. Good night to everybody who's falling asleep to my voice. Let's see. Yeah, so I don't know. I kind of went away from those confessions, but to me, April 3rd is like a huge thing. And also, as I was saying previously in my member live chat, at the June 15th hearing, Rosie told Gull, we've spent all of our time trying to get Rick out of Westville. They were hired November 14th of 2022. That hearing was June 15th. They did not file to get Rick out of Westville until April. So if like they're spending all their time for months and they had not ever filed to get Rick out of Westville, that makes no sense to me. And he said he would never lie to Judge Gull, but to me, it seems like a lie. I don't know. What do I know? The simulation. I honestly don't think the ballistic evidence will be entered at trial, especially if that bullet was kept on a desk for years. No, that's not true. Are you referencing Tobe Lesenby had a bullet, or technically people have informed me it's called a cartridge. So the cartridge has the bullet at the end, and when you pull the trigger, the bullet goes flying out of the cartridge. Hopefully I'm explaining that right. That was not the bullet or the cartridge that was on Lesenby's desk for years, as far as I know. Corruption, anyway. What people may wonder, did Lesenby have another cartridge on his desk every day as a reminder to find who was the owner of the one found at the crime scene? I know there's, in the Frank's memo, it kind of talked about chain of custody, saying that there were pictures, I think, of the unspent round in the ground, but there are certain protocol that needs to be followed, like videotaping. Okay, we found this here. We're going to show that we pulled this evidence out, just to have like a chain of custody to show that that's where they found it. Excuse me 1 second. Hi, Taylor. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Not convinced of innocence or guilt, temporary devil's advocate. When Rick said that to his wife, was he being sarcastic? Like, oh yeah, I killed those girls. Yeah, so I mentioned previously that in the Frank's memo, page 22, the defense came up with this fake quote, which I'm sure you guys have mostly seen it, but some people actually believe this, and they're saying the guards threatened Rick and forced him to make that phone call, which is not true. The defense on page 22, sorry, I think the footnote is 15. The defense were talking about how there's no privacy talking to Rick in Westville because the guards, I guess for security measures, they had to prevent, they have to have some kind of documentation to show that a inmate would not attack their lawyers in this conference room or whatever, this private room, or that the lawyers are not bringing in contraband to pass over to inmates. So the defense was saying that Frank's memo, that the guards were using a video camera, supposedly without a microphone, but they were focusing it on Rick's mouth, and they forced Rick to face this window so he could be on camera, insinuating that they were going to be sharing, Westville was going to share that with the prosecution to read Rick's lips and find out what he's talking about. So the defense made up this fake quote saying, because of this, Rick might not feel comfortable saying the following, quote, the guards, sorry, I might get this wrong, but this is the general gist of it, this fake quote. The guards are telling me my family will be killed unless I call my wife and say, I killed those girls, end quote. So when I read that end of the quote, I killed those girls, I wondered, did the defense need to find a way to explain away Rick saying, I killed those girls to his wife on the phone? And was their solution to come up with this fake quote and then at the bottom of the page in a footnote say, oh, to be clear, Richard Allen has never spoken those words. The point is he would not feel comfortable saying something like that if the guards were nearby. So to me, that whole fake quote was honestly total BS. I mean, I agree that these conditions of the private attorney meetings are not satisfactory. And I don't understand how these prisons don't even have dedicated rooms for attorneys to meet their clients. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I missed some of these, so let me get to these. Diana, thank you so much. Taco Bell has 10 items that are under $3. Taco time, thank you. I like Taco Bell. That's why I used to use a Taco Bell cup, but now I use my Sluther Vandross Detective Agency. Thank you for the, my face changed colors. Thank you to the 5 people who bought items from my online store. Susan, I always appreciate your generosity and your nice comments. Thank you. Where are we here? Hi, Kevin. Aloha. I was shocked that McClelland did not start with first degree. If Rick is guilty, he deserves the death penalty. Baldwin and Rosie have their hands full. Be careful what you wish for. So this brings up a good point, Kevin. Is McClelland, based on this new charge of murder instead of just kidnapping that led to murder, going to seek the death penalty that is going to maybe cause Rick to ask for a plea deal? I guess it's a possibility. I'm sure some people are going to say they're forcing Rick to falsely confess. I don't know. I mean, why is this guy even confessing? Why is he telling his wife and his mom, I'm a child killer? I know that he has supposed mental issues, but as I was saying in one of my previous live chats, what kind of mental issue? Yeah, I want some people to share your experiences. Or if you have a family member or friend who's a psychiatrist, please, you won't have room to write it in the comments, but anybody who sees this in the comments after this live chat, how much more do I have to do? An hour and something. So the defense is saying that Rick lost his mind, and the day after the confessions, he was acting schizophrenic and delusional. After they said for 5 months he was fine in segregation. I mean, from what I've read online, men do not become schizophrenic at 50 years old. I don't know. I mean, the defense said he suffered from depression since his early days. I don't know. I'm just wondering, like, what kind of mental illness would cause somebody to call their wife and tell their mom, "I'm a double child murderer." I don't know. I don't know. I'm not saying that he's not upset being in segregation, but as I've just said a few times, the defense said that he was fine for 5 months. Also, why are people ignoring the possibility that if you suddenly realize that you're going to be found guilty and be stuck in this segregation in a small cell for the rest of your life for like 25 years or whatever until he dies, don't you think that's going to make him more upset? And that's the reason why he's kind of lost his mind? I don't know. How far behind am I? Only 30 minutes. Danda, will we ever see the total video the girls took? I don't know if this trial is going to be broadcast. Gull said previously she's going to go on a hearing by hearing basis. So the defense asked to broadcast all of these hearings so that the public can hear and see what was going on. And then she broadcast October 19th, and they're like, yeah, I'm not going out there. Which I agree that they should have had more warning for that October 19th hearing. So I assume it's going to be shown at the trial. I don't know how much. I think that whoever's broadcasting it, the court can choose to turn the camera away from any kind of like projection. That's what they did, I believe, in various other cases. JMS says maybe the gun is in the video. Yeah, well, it depends where Libby was holding her phone as Bridge Guy approached. I don't know if she had it by her side or if she put it into her pocket in her jeans. In the PCA, it said at the end of the video, the 43-second video, a man is seen and heard. So I've wondered, did she get like a decent view of, I don't know, his jacket? Rick said, and his wife said, he owned a Carhartt jacket, which is a brand. Almost every version of a Carhartt jacket that I've seen has this like square orange logo for Carhartt, which I cannot see on the Bridge Guy video from far away, which is obviously really blurry. So I'm just wondering if Libby's video captured like a Carhartt logo close up. And also, a lot of us have debated and wondered in the Bridge Guy video around his waist on like the left side as you're looking. Is that like a brown sweatshirt hanging out or a brown whatever, some kind of bag or a waist bag? Did Libby's video get a better look at that? And that matched something at Rick's house. I don't think there was any brown waist bag taken from Rick's house. Also, I don't know if there was any brown sweatshirt. I think there was a black one and some other ones, but I don't know about brown. Kelt says a Casey Anthony, who she apparently killed her daughter, juror stated it was the state going after the death penalty that made them find her innocent. State went for an all or nothing and lost. It seems like a lot of these death penalty convictions, not that I really follow a lot of cases, but there's like years and decades of arguing before they put somebody to death. So it's like, is it really worth the trouble and all that time and money to kill the murderer as opposed to just making him be in jail for a long time? I don't know. Hi, Durr. Hi there. Did they catch the murderer? Well, we're going to have to wait for the trial to hopefully see more convincing evidence if Rick Allen is truly the murderer and Bridge Guy. Today, the prosecutor upgraded the charges against Rick from just being Bridge Guy to actually being the murderer. Hi, CJK. Nice to see you. Let's see. Anne always has very good questions. Thank you, Anne, for joining and your questions. Is there any verified truth? There's no verified truth about anything in this case. To the speculation going around that when Rick talked to the conservation officer, he put the street name where they met as Rick's last name. Actually, there is some verified truth to this. In the Franks memo, it said that the conservation officer screwed up and he entered Rick's name as Richard Allen Whiteman. So Rick's street that he lived on, his wife sold his house last August for, I think, $252,000. And people were wondering, did she do that after his supposed confession April 3rd, thinking, well, he's not coming home. So I don't know. That's a whole nother issue. This other issue is, I believe Holman even said there was some kind of issue where they misplaced the tip. To me, I just don't understand quite a few things about this tip. The FBI Orion system is what was used to keep track of these tips. In the PCA, it said this conversation with Rick was entered as DIN-C, I think, 000074. So if they're entering them chronologically, this is the 74th tip put into Orion system. Even if Rick's last name was entered as Richard Whiteman, how does that have anything to do with like not following up with him within a few days or weeks of the murders, where it said he was out on the trails 1:30 to 3:30? I just don't understand how they screwed that part up. And I don't know. If it turns out that Rick is innocent, then not interviewing him didn't really have any issue on solving the case, but it seems like, I mean, it has cost millions of dollars by not properly following up on that tip for years. And like the 5.5-year difference did that, like I said before, is this phone and car data now not available? Whereas if they did look into Rick further within the first week, this never would have been a huge case as it is now. I don't know. It's crazy. Hi, Fran, Cheska. Very messy case now and prior. Aspen Connor has his own true crime channel if you want to follow him. He's also on the It's a Crime and Shame channel. They do a lot more live chats than me. You should go watch them. I think they're doing one right now too, or later. Aspen says, yes, it's a harder burden of proof, which shows me the prosecution is confident in their case. Yeah, I've seen people online saying, oh, McClelland isn't ready. He's scared. I don't know. After today, do you think he's really scared by saying, I have evidence to prove Rick is the killer? Time will tell. JD says, felony murder is only easier to prove if there's more than one person. Those single-party felony murder cases aren't very common. I don't know. BS. With what we know of who was on the trail when, including what Rick admits to, he's the only person on the trail at the time that matches Bridge Guy description. Well, if he left at 1:30, yeah, I mean, if Bridge Guy arrived at 1:30 and Rick left at 1:30, I don't know. I mean, we have to wait for the trial to see a full list of who was on the trails at what time. Rick said he went from Freedom Bridge area to platform 1 of the bridge, which to me, I mean, just that alone, witness 4 sees Bridge Guy on platform 1. Witness 4, obviously, she said at one point, the person she saw on platform 1 could have been a 20-year-old with puffy hair that led to that younger guy sketch. But she was also shown Libby's, the screenshot from Libby's video, and she said that was the man she saw on platform 1. The driver on 300 at 3:57 p.m., despite this various description drama that's going on and supposed lies by Liggett about whether she said he's wearing a blue jacket or a tan beige jacket or the word bloody, She apparently was also shown a picture of Bridge Guy and said that was who she saw on 300 at 357 walking towards CPS, which is supposedly where Rick parked. So we're going to have to wait for all these witnesses to say, after Rick went on platform 1, he said he went on a bench. Well, who saw Rick on a bench? Was there anybody walking from Freedom Bridge to Mears between 12 and 12:45 who did or did not see somebody matching Rick? If there's going to be people on the stand saying, I was there whatever time when Rick should have been on a bench, then it's not going to look good for Rick. Billy Wolf says, Rick could have said, quote, I'm Rick Allen, who works at CVS, and given his social security number on the video, and booger eaters would still say it wasn't him on as Bridge Guy. I don't know, Billy. Dave says, my opinion has always been lone wolf. Rick, in my opinion, fits the profile. Yeah, even if Rick does confess publicly in the court system, I've said this before, I'm going to be shocked that this 44-year-old man at the time who worked at the local CVS, for people outside the US, it's a large pharmacy that has a lot more stuff than just prescription drugs. In a town of less than 3,000 people, I don't know, like, what was he thinking that he would go to the trails and do this to two girls and then like go back to his life? I don't know. It seems crazy. Salvatore says, what is the update regarding the incrimination of police personnel and their relationship to Allen? I'm getting, I don't know what this is talking about. Does anybody know? I'm about 40 minutes behind on comments, so hopefully I'll get to it later. Paul makes a good point, though, following up on my recent blabbering. Paul has an issue that you have at least 4 to 5 witnesses, yet after 5+ years, none of these witnesses went to CVS, where Rick worked, and recognized the man they seen on the trails. Come on. That is what is so confusing. I agree with that partially. So what we've heard is there were 4 girls around one of the first benches. I previously thought there were 5 benches on the trails, but I was recently watching another video. I think it was from 2020. And there is a bench on the right-hand side as you enter from Freedom Bridge. So I don't know if that was there in 2017 or not. But these girls were photographed on bench 2, which in the background you can see like this hill, which is in facing 300, not Hoosier Heartland Highway. So these girls, at least 3 out of the 4 saw the guy who walked by. My reasoning for that, why this one other girl did not provide evidence or whatever, an interview. She was the younger sister of this girl who said hi to Bridge Guy as he walked by. Excuse me. I think that the older sister may have, like, after they left this bench area, the older sister may have been looking down at her phone, and these 2 girls in the front were walking, and then the younger sister, who's shorter, was maybe walking behind these 2 taller girls. Rick said one of the girls he passed around noon, the 3 juvenile girls, he said one was taller with, I think he said brown or black hair. So it just seems really like a crazy coincidence that 90 minutes after Rick passes 3 juvenile girls near the first benches, another guy matching Rick's description and Bridge Guy's description passes 4 girls in the same area. I don't know. So how do these girls not go to CVS over 5.5 years and say, that's the guy who I passed within 3 feet? They said he had a hoodie on. They also said he had a face covering or a scarf up past his, I believe it was up to his nose, which to me, is curious because one of them said he had gray hair. So if he has his head covered, and especially Rick, who had a crew cut, if his hair is covered with a hoodie or like a beanie, like the from the Adam Levine collection, um, and his goatee is covered, how would one of these girls have said he had grayish hair with brown in it? I don't know. They did say the bridge guy that they passed was looking down. So I don't know. Maybe they did not get a good enough look at him. And it's like, are you really staring at some older guy as you walk by on the trails, especially if you're with your friends? I don't know. I'm not trying to explain away why they did not recognize Rick. However, witness 4, who did she see on platform 1? My issue with that is it said that platform 1 is about 50 feet away from the start of the bridge. So if she's on the trails exercising and she gets to, I've shown this previously, if you've looked at the bridge now, it's a lot different than it was previously. Previously, you had to get very close to the bridge and walk around these posts like a gate to even see who is on platform 1. So if she's walking towards the bridge, she would have to like walk around to finally see a guy on platform 1, like from 50 feet away. So how long is she really like staring at this guy? What direction is he even in? Like he's on platform 1. If Rick is looking over the platform 1 at Fish, he's obviously turned sideways towards the creek, not just like standing facing people coming. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about, obviously, but I'm curious to know what witness 4 is going to say, the position of this guy's body. Was she wearing sunglasses? Was she wearing prescription contacts or glasses? Because I do think if she's an eyewitness, her eyesight matters. If I'm a member of the jury, who am I going to believe? 3 girls who pass within 3 feet of a guy on the trails near bench 1 or whatever, bench 2, who said he looked like he was in his 40s to 50s, or a woman who's around 50 years old who maybe did not have her prescription glasses or contacts in, who said that she saw a 20-year-old from 50 feet away. I'm not saying that witness 4 is a liar or anything, but I'm going to take into consideration more somebody who passed within a few feet than somebody who was 50 feet away. The final person is this 357 person driving on 300. I think the speed limit is 35. I don't know. I'm curious to see what she's going to say. Did this guy have a hoodie on? She said he was like dressed like the guy in the screen capture. So I don't know. We're going to have to wait for the final testimony of all these people to get a better idea of what happened. Sorry for rambling. Shelley is doing some research. I just asked Google how long the black box in a vehicle retains information. The answer was 30 days to several years. Thanks for nothing, Google. Yeah, I mean, I came up with a few different answers in my research too. And it is possible for several years worth of data, but I don't know. Sweet Dude says law enforcement won't have Rick's data from 5 years ago. Defense might if Rick backed up his phone to PC or cloud. That's a good idea. Good point about the phone. I'm not sure that they were not able to get Rick's car data or not. Wham, who are you? I'm not mad at you anyway. I have a sense of humor. Trish asked, I was going to say Siri, but then my Siri is going to talk. Trish asked about Ford Focus in particular and got the same generic info. Yeah, I think I tried to email some people, but nobody ever replies to me. Anne says, aside from establishing a timeline for Rick comings and goings, there may be something online linking him to prior fishing of girls. Again, we don't know since not all state evidence laid out in probable cause. Well, if you guys have followed the Long Island serial killer, Rex Heuermann, first of all, he's so guilty and a piece of trash. Anyway, um, as people have noted, like the Koberger for Idaho and Rex Heuermann PCAs have a lot more detailed information and evidence pointing towards guilt than Rick's. Heuermann was searching like very detailed stuff about the case, and also he was searching like really disgusting videos online that point towards him being guilty. So even if Rick's like phone data is not available, what is Rick's home computer search is going to look like? Was he searching the case? What was his online search activity? Was he looking for videos about young girls or just girls doing stuff to each other, which could have been a possible motive to see two girls in the woods like do stuff to each other? I don't know. Time will tell. I think two, but they were covert. But thank you for always counting. Dan, do we know, were they killed within a short time of their interaction with Bridge Guy, or did it occur later during the night? There have been rumors that Abby may have died during the night. I don't know anything about these times of death, and I know that in the Frank's memo, there's reference to one girl, which I think was Abby, dying a slow death. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see what the autopsy or the coroner, whoever said that, where they got that information at the trial. What I don't understand about people saying that Abby died in the middle of the night, there were searchers out since like 5:30 to 6 o'clock p.m. on the day of the murders. So if she was stabbed, like I don't know about all this like violence and death and how long this stuff takes to die. But I mean, how would she live for? I mean, that happened around 3 o'clock to 3:30 that she was stabbed. I don't know. Like it took another 10 to 12 hours for her to die, but she was like unconscious as she bled. I don't know. Like why could she not move? She was found on her back with her arms crossed. So to me, when people say that she died during the night, I do not find that really plausible. Molly Percocet. With the way this is going, the jury will be full of Odinists. My concern, as I said before, if Rick is truly guilty, is there going to be some kind of jury where they let him go, and then the jury does like those TV interviews, and there's going to be some like, no offense, but some idiot who says like the stupidest idea or reason why they thought he was not guilty? I don't know. Hi, Janny Lane. I'm currently 40 minutes behind. Let me see what I can do about that. Stop commenting. Let's see. Hi, Cynthia. The cell phones at Rick's house, possibly the card in each cell phone. I believe they took 16 cell phones from Rick's house on October 13th. Some people were like, how the hell do you have 16 phones? It was him, his wife, and his daughter. And as phones get upgraded, I don't know that is very unusual to have 16. What is that? 5 per person? Maybe. Okay, maybe it's kind of a lot. Dan, do we think it will ever actually go to trial? I don't know. Rick deserves a fair trial. Abby and Libby deserve a fair trial. So if he's guilty and the only person involved, then please just say everything that happened to law enforcement and do some kind of plea deal. I mean, that's the only alternative that I would want to a trial. I don't need to know all these details. I just want the truth and the person involved to be held responsible. Obviously, for a lot of us who have spent years every day thinking about this case, wondering what was in Bridge Guy's jacket. We want to know this stuff, but what deserves to happen is justice for Abby and Libby and the truth to be revealed, whether Rick is guilty or innocent. Shelley says Tobe Lesenby said there is DNA, but not what we think. It sounds like something Doug Carter would say. Can we get a specific answer? I'm not frozen. I'm just looking for comments. High thoughts arrive. My great fear is that this case is already bungled, that there will be no justice for Abby and Libby. I sincerely hope I'm wrong. There have definitely been a ton of law enforcement errors. And even, I'm sure this is going to come up because it came up in the Franks memo. I forget exactly what it said, but I think the defense said Lesenby in his September 2023 deposition, my head goes crooked. Anyway, the Lesenby said last September, didn't he say he still thinks that there are two people involved in the murders? And he said that, I think they argued, the defense said, even Liggett behind the scenes agreed with Lesenby that there were two people involved, but publicly Liggett has said only Rick. Hopefully I got that right. Shelley is referencing, I don't know, let me see if I missed your previous line. Give me 1 second. Shelley says, hey, remember when they were interviewing people at car auto parts stores? Yeah, so when Baldwin typed this email that showed, like, I think it was like folder names of various evidence that his office had received, and maybe, I don't know if it was put into a Word document or something. So they typed that up, and I guess somebody, maybe a paralegal in Baldwin's office, again, this is just like speculation, this first part, maybe emailed it to Baldwin, and Baldwin maybe forwarded it to Brad Rosie. He types out BRA for Brad Rosie. It autofilled to Brandon Woodhouse, who's like this local guy who absolutely hates Nick McClelland and Carroll. He sued Carroll County Sheriff's Department for bad treatment at the Carroll County Jail, and he apparently settled for a few $1,000s, or maybe 35,000. Sorry, 35,000. So Baldwin screwed the pooch, and that means messed up for people who are around the world. He messed up and he forwarded these like titles of these different folders of evidence. And what Shelley is referring to is one of these folders apparently is maybe a confidential interview with somebody, I believe is at AutoZone, which is a car parts store in Peru, Indiana, which is where Kegan Kline lived before he went to his forever home in prison. I don't know. We're going to have to wait for the trial to hear a lot of this actual evidence instead of various speculation. Janny, I think, is talking about the April 3rd phone call. I'm going to have to hear that to believe it. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see or hear, actually see and hear Rick's. I would imagine McClelland is going to sync up the video evidence of Rick's cell on April 3rd with the audio only of what he was saying on the tablet to his wife. Is he crying, revealing the secret? Does he sound like he is delusional? I don't know. Time will tell, but it does seem incriminating. So I just want to bring up this one point. To start the June 15th hearing, Rosie said, he brought up this phone call from April 3rd. I think he said he said confessions, non-confessions, incriminating statements, non-incriminating statements. We'll deal with that at the trial. Another news story said Rosie, I think at that same June 15th hearing, described Rick's statements as generic. How do you generically admit multiple times that you killed 2 girls? That causes your wife to abruptly hang up. I don't know. As Janie, hopefully I'm not Janie, please confirm how to pronounce it. As Janie Lane says, we're gonna have to wait to hear it to judge ourselves. Fair maiden wins. Hello. The girl's picture in the car shows Abby's pink peach hat. Haven't heard anything about that. Oh, sorry. Haven't heard anything about her hat. Are you talking about that picture from the back of a car when Abby and Libby were younger? And it's like wintertime? I'm assuming that's what you mean. I have no recollection of exactly what color that hat was. From the creek photo of this one item, it seems like it's small enough to be a sock or like a small sock or small underwear. So I'm not sure that it's a hat, to be honest. Gen Z Finance. How do I make more money to buy more Taco Bell? Was the second interview with Rick recorded? Hell yeah. October 13th, 2022. They better have. Wouldn't they have asked during the interview if he remembers talking with the conservation officer? I feel like there would be reference to it. If not, suspicious. I don't know. I obviously want to not just read this transcript of both Rick and his wife from October 13th, but see what his body language is and stuff like that, his facial expressions and stuff. Also to hear like a high quality version of Rick's voice to determine, does he sound like Bridge Guy? DNA King said to JD, correct, third-party guilt evidence must be allowed even if you don't identify the alternative suspect. Holmes, bring in receipts. Holmes versus South Carolina, 2005, U.S. Supreme Court. All right, thank you for sharing. JD is laughing at me saying, you don't lose your mind the day you get to prison. Well, why are you fined for 5 months? And then one day you lose your mind and confess to murders you did not commit and not confess to investigators who have been grilling you for 8 hours. You're alone in your cell. You just came back from meeting the defense intern and investigator, and that's when you lose your mind? I'm just saying, as a jury member, Rick has some splaining to do. Sweet dude. So Rick's wife waits for several confessions, then ends the call abruptly. Is that abrupt to wait? We're gonna have to wait and see what happened. I wish McClelland in one of these previous filings would have included an exact quote. Obviously, everybody's like, no, duh. So hopefully, if there is some kind of other, I don't know, prosecution filing coming up, maybe he will finally include an exact quote so we won't have to really be debating this because he owes that to us. I'm kidding. I'm sure he's watching, so he'll do it next time. Uh-oh, not this rumor. Fair Maiden Wins. Was Rick's motorcycle cover show dragging dirt residue? Yeah, I've talked about this a little bit because I don't really know exactly what it's about. In the October 13th list of items taken from Rick's home, and I guess his garage or the shed, it listed a motorcycle cover. There's been talk about Rick's brother-in-law, his wife's brother, died, I think, within a few months of the murders, and he apparently had a motorcycle. I'm wondering, like, no offense, but is Rick, if he's 5'4", is he really tall enough to drive a motorcycle? And I'm not being shady. I'm just curious to know. So how does this motorcycle cover come into play, there's this rumor that I don't even know what it is. Something about Rick drove a motorcycle to this house at the end of the private drive past the Monon High Bridge. Something like if Rick was truly bridge guy, he later like walked after the murders. He walked across the creek, did something in like the garage or an outhouse of this the house at the end of the private drive. I don't know. And something like he then later drove his motorcycle to this house that is at the end of the private drive to clean up evidence or something. I don't know. I just don't know what to say. From what I've heard, I don't think that that house even had like an area to do what people are saying that Rick could have done. So I should not have even highlighted your comment. No offense. Hi, Kristen. You're probably gone. You left that 45 minutes ago, but welcome. Uh-oh. Is this about me? Cynthia, I would like the defense to explain away Rick's confession, not just one person, but two people, his wife and his mother. So what I was thinking, maybe, I don't know if Rick's wife at some point was not living at home because maybe there were people driving by and she didn't want to live by herself. So was she staying with her mother-in-law? And 2 times a day, they would talk to Rick and they would just keep it on speakerphone as they were both on the phone at the same place. Hi, Loopsy Lou. I have not heard about anybody attending today's hearing from any family. Janny says maybe Rick was starving and eating paper to not die. Well, the warden said Rick went a few meals without eating, like he was on his own hunger strike. He was refusing to sleep and eat. I mean, I've heard people make ridiculous accusations about the food that they were giving Rick, but it seems like there's a schedule in prison to feed, shower, and give recreation time. I know in the latest motion to transfer, the new lawyer said at Westville, when the guards would come to Rick to say, "Do you want your scheduled rec time or shower?" They would move their heads back and forth, indicating and intimidating Rick to be like, "No, I don't," because Rick said it was like an inconvenience to the guards to take him to take a shower. But as I said, there has to be some kind of schedule to feed people. So I don't think they were like, "Oh, we don't like Rick, so we're not going to give him food." And he's like, "I'm hungry. I need to eat my evidence." You can disagree, but I disagree. Thank you, this account. I'll think of you when I'm eating a taco supreme. JD, what if Rick said he told them down the hill? Is that him confessing to murder? Well, and McClelland said he admits to the charges that he's to what he's charged with. So he was charged with being bridge guy, which essentially, like as I said previously, shouldn't we only want at least a bridge guy to be identified? I mean, if there were other people waiting on the other side or down the hill who also participated in the killings or whatever, a planned kidnapping, obviously we want them to be found and held accountable too. But we just want to know, was Rick bridge guy? Hi, illegally blonde. Rick's body language is his nerves are shot and stopped eating. Yeah, he definitely looked bad. He's obviously lost weight over the past year. There was one court appearance where he definitely looked horrible, but I believe his most recent court appearance, it looked like he has gained some weight back. Kelt makes a good point. They need to stop bringing him to court the way they are. Bad optics for the jury. Again, just my opinion as a human that could be on a jury someday. I totally agree with you. Rick is like 5'4". They're bringing him in and out of jail with leg shackles or ankle shackles. His hands are tied, or they have handcuffs in the front. He has like something around his waist. It was said that he has a shock vest in case he, like, what is he going to do? He's 5'4". I don't agree with them. That I think that's way too excessive to make him do that. I mean, if they walk into court with like handcuffs in front of him or in back, like, how is that not good enough? Like, he's not going to overpower 12 police officers, please. And also when he's meeting with his attorneys, that he's in shackles to meet with them. Like, if other like inmates in jail are able to sit there with their attorneys and not have handcuffs or shackles, then Rick should be given that same right. He's not a convicted killer. Rieger, to be an innocent bystander, you sure lean to one side. Well, I give my explanations about things that don't add up to me. So some people say that I have like a narrative and that I'm saying that Rick is definitely guilty. I've never said Rick is bridge guy. I've said that I don't see Rick's face in the bridge guy video, but I see his tiny little feet. And I mean, there's just other stuff that does not add up to me, including, I mean, this guy told his wife and mom he's the killer. So what do you want me to say? Like, Rick is innocent? He's innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. But we're on YouTube, like, trying to figure stuff out until we see all the evidence at trial. I don't know. It seems like some people who think something, they don't want to hear like other sides. I want to hear everybody's own opinions, even stuff that's opposite of what I think. Cynthia heard no one from Rick's family was at the hearing today. What? His wife did have anyone from her support team to go with her. Did anyone else hear this? I have not heard anything. Paul says, if I was on the jury and they could not present DNA, the fact that not one witness recognized him after 6 years, they better come up with something strong, i.e. DNA. If not, this case is full of RD. What's RD? Sorry, I don't know what RD is. I'm not going to ask Siri either. Thank you for answering this from 50 minutes ago. DNA King says, generally, they cannot force the intern or the investigator to testify at all if they were a part of the defense team, just like they can't force his lawyers to testify. All right, thank you for clarifying. But can, as I said before, the last time the defense got evidence before April 3rd was in February. Can McClelland tell the jury, which obviously I think he could, this is what we gave the defense before April 3rd that may have caused Rick to want to confess? Sorry, I'm just looking for topics we have not discussed yet. Until tomorrow says, some comments of mine are showing up, but others are not. Anyone understand? Sometimes I put like a 20 to 30 second time limit between comments to slow down the chat. So that might be an issue. Paul says this case is full of holes and reasonable doubt. Oh, reasonable doubt before. Sorry, that's RD. We have Kagan, his dad, the guy under the bridge arguing with his girlfriend. No one recognized Rick for over 7 years or a bridge guy. I'm sorry, I need some DNA. Well, as I said before, what if Rick's phone data shows stuff that he was at the trails, and it's like any kind of phone data showing that Rick was at the trails after 1:30? If his car data shows he was only at the trails from 1:30 to 4:05 p.m., Rick lying about being there noon to 1:30, is that not suspicious to you? Oh, Caricature Contest said you have to select live chat at the top, I think. Hi, Shadowbox. Yeah, I'm sure everybody else is doing a live chat tonight. Janny says, who wouldn't have mental issues after a year of solitary confinement and torture? My point is, the defense admitted Rick was fine mentally for 5 months. It wasn't until this one day, April 3rd, that he supposedly started acting like he had mental issues. As a member of the jury, that's very suspicious to me as a way to like kind of point away from him confessing to his family. Anne says, imagine if this maybe the state has established an online link between Rick and the girls. That would be a game changer. But before I showed that Holman said there is no social media link between Rick and Abby and Libby. Diane just came in. What's the latest? Baldwin and Rosie have been reinstated. Judge Gull stays. The Supreme Court is not going to force a trial in 70 days. You can go back to sleep now. Until Tomorrow says schizophrenia is triggered by stress at any age. AS is a psychologist. It would be psychosis. Yeah, I'm kind of behind on comments here. Sorry. Angel says, yes, he is on new medications that can mess with brain functioning. The simulation, sleep deprivation causes all kinds of mental health issues. Janny says, nah, Rick was hopeful until the guards started threatening he and his family's lives. Janny, you cannot be serious. You do not believe that fake quote from the Franks memo on page 22. The guards, what is the proof that the guards have ever threatened his family's lives? Never. There's no proof. The defense said they made up that quote. They said, to be clear, Rick has never stated this. I see a lot of people who are saying what Janny is saying, that Rick only confessed and called his wife because the guards said, call your wife or we're going to kill your family. Like, first of all, why would the guards care about that? Second of all, there's no proof that they did that. The defense admitted they made up that quote to complain about Rick's conditions when they interview him, and there's no privacy. Caricature contest. Oh, you're replying to this other user, AS. Could he be acting like this because we all know he's an animal and the public knows his secret life? Wondering. So let's see what AS said. Everything is possible, but not plausible. I don't know what this is. USA Libertarian, hello. The gun could have been in the video because it seems like law enforcement knew the type of gun they were looking for beyond the caliber. Yeah, I don't know. Based on the cartridge, I don't know if they knew that was a Sig Sauer gun, which is the kind of gun that Rick had. And I've said previously, there's a fairly strong rumor that at least one other local gun, including a Sig Sauer, was tested against this unspent round found at the crime scene. And it appears that it did not match the one at the crime scene after Indiana State Police tested it. So to me, as a jury member, even if there is a debate about the quality of this ballistic science, if they present 4 years ago, we tested a P226 Sig Sauer gun against this unspent round we found. It did not match the gun of the guy whose parents lived at the end of the private drive. However, when we tested Rick's, it did. And that was why we were like, oh, this guy is definitely involved and he needs to be arrested. As a jury member, this prior testing of other similar guns not matching would possibly cause me to take it more seriously. Sorry, I'm just looking for new comments. Awkward silence. All right, let me pick one. AJ, hello. I would be curious as to why McClelland stated the state believed other actors are involved. I want to know what we don't know. Dang it. Wheat the heck. It seemed to me like it could have been possible that they knew that Rick's DNA did not match the crime scene, but they had DNA at the crime scene. So they wondered, was there another person involved? I don't know. I mean, it's been over a year since Rick was arrested and nobody else connected to him has been arrested. So I don't know. You could say he's innocent. That's why they could not find anybody else who he could have done this with. But now, as of today, law enforcement or the prosecutor said Rick is the killer, not just Bridge Guy. Yeah, sweet dude makes a good point. The conservation officer had 5 years of looking at the Bridge Guy video and photo. He was also at the 2017 or also 2000, I don't know which one it was. One of the press conferences where like all the police officers were on the stage. And I guess it was February 22nd, 2017. You can see him on the stage and it's like, how did he not put some of this stuff together? Like that guy who told me he was on the trails, whatever happened to him? I don't know. AS, someone can be both psychotic and psychopathic. One doesn't exclude the other. Nowadays, it's rare to find those kind of killers. Mostly they aren't psychotic. Rick can be both. Anne says, regarding following up on Rick after he tipped himself into the park officer, if he was in the computer under the wrong last name, they wouldn't have been able to locate him with that wrong info. So I don't know. One of the other things that like points to Rick possibly being not innocent, April 2019, Doug Carter says, we're looking for the driver of a vehicle parked at CPS. He did misspeak and say on April 14th, but I don't know, just Rick not coming forward when he said, I was there noon to 1:30, and Doug Carter says, we're looking for the driver of a vehicle parked from noon to 5. Rick was parked there for the first 90 minutes of that time frame. Why can't he walk over or drive over 15 seconds to 1 block away is the Carroll County Sheriff's Office from his work? I don't know. It just doesn't look good to me. I understand that he could have felt, well, I already told them in 2017 I was there. They know that I was there, so I don't have to tell them again. I understand that, but 2 years later, this unsolved murders of 2 girls in your small town, he cared enough to not charge Libby's aunt when she came in a few days later to get photos of Libby for the memorial or her funeral. But he didn't care enough to remind the police that he was there, part of CPS. I don't know. USA Libertarian. Law enforcement's description, let me sit up here, ruled out Rick based on height, age, weight, and eye color. And his name didn't come out despite every Delphi resident seeing him at CVS. But now people are absolutely certain it's him. Yeah, so Rick, the wanted poster said 5'6" to 5'10", age 18 to 40, weight up to 180, or 180 to 220, and eye color definitely not blue. You make good points. However, there are other things that point towards Rick being bridge guy. As I said before, there's a lot of coincidences. So Rick said he was on platform 1, and 90 minutes later, witness 4 just happens to see somebody matching what Rick was wearing on platform 1 90 minutes earlier. Rick happens to leave at 1:30, and bridge guy essentially wearing something very similar with a head covering, jeans, a dark jacket, walks past these girls around 1:30. Yet Rick said he only saw 3 juveniles when he arrived soon after noon in the same area that bridge guy saw or passed these 4 juveniles at 1:30. I don't know. There's just a lot of this stuff that it makes me question, could Rick be innocent or not? But I'm sure a lot of your points, I mean, they are valid points. I mean, that's factual. And I'm sure that the defense is going to bring that up, but what evidence does McClelland now feel like he has strong enough evidence to prove that Rick is the killer and not just bridge guy? I don't know. Until tomorrow, a certain carelessness or non-thinking brainlessness hovers over this case, which spells psychosis to me. Are you talking about my live chats? Psychopaths are intelligent, clever, and heartless. Doesn't seem to be the case here. I don't know. Rachel says, it's not that I think Rick is innocent. It's that this entire investigation and arrest and everything that followed does not leave me feeling confident in anything. I normally go 2 hours and 59 minutes with these live chats, but this is my 5th one or 4th one today. I need a nap. So I'm going to end this in like, I don't know, 15 to 20 minutes. But I appreciate everybody joining and sharing your thoughts, even people who think other than I do. Kevin says, I wish Libby went live on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube and announced it out loud to Bridge Guy. This could have saved their lives, definitely caught the killer. Yeah, I've thought this before, and it's not any way of like criticizing Libby, which I've also thought, if this happened today and she had an iPhone 15 or something with better resolution and she held it up a little bit longer, like it would have been solved like the same day or the next day. Yeah, just a reminder to anybody who ever is in a situation where you're concerned, you might want to go, if you have something on your phone, some kind of app with a like Facebook Live or something, better to be safe than sorry. And just be like, this person's shady. I'm filming you live on a live chat. Anne says, that to me was the single most confusing difference between the 2 law enforcement bridge guy sketches. One had a goatee, other had no facial hair. So for people who don't know, it appears that we were all confused when this April 2019 press conference happened, and they revealed this new sketch that people call like Justin Timberlake, who looked nothing like the original Bridge Guy sketch. To me, Bridge Guy's voice sounds like somebody between, if I had to give like a 20-year age range, I would say 35 to 55, not a 20-year-old kid. So the reason for that April 2019 press conference seems to be witness 4 went back to police in March 2019 and said that she was concerned that she had told police within a few days of the murders and given a sketch that the man she saw on platform 1 from 50 feet away was a 20-year-old with poofy hair. So it seemed like her coming forward saying, I'm frustrated that you guys have not shared with the public that I saw a young guy who I thought was Bridge Guy, and you're looking for a guy who looks like he's in his 40s. As I said previously, I just don't know exactly the quality of her vision from 50 feet away, whether she had sunglasses on. I mean, we've seen Bridge Guy walking towards Abby and Libby at 2:13. I believe witness 4 saw Bridge Guy on platform 1 around like 1:53. So the sun would have maybe been in her eyes. I don't know, as I said, if she wore sunglasses onto the trail. Was she wearing prescription glasses? Some people have said that maybe she was jogging. So I don't know if she's wearing prescription glasses to jog, but she obviously drove there. So if she needs glasses, I would assume she was wearing them to drive. So we're going to have to wait for her official testimony at the trial. Let's see. Janny makes a good point. Do you mean the same witness who was 5'7" at that time, and said Bridge Guy was a I don't know, didn't she say much taller? There were a few different descriptions. One girl said he was not taller than 5'10". One girl who I saw a screenshot, she was 5'6" and said that Bridge Guy was around her height. Obviously, we all talk about Rick being possibly 5'4". So how could somebody confuse a 5'4" man with a 5'10" man? Like, that's a big difference. About I don't know. And I'm not explaining it away, but like the 5'6" girl, they said he had a hoodie on, so a hoodie could add at least a few inches. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see what these girls say at the trial. But you do make a good point that there is some kind of discretion there. Rick's car was 2016, and yes, I did search online, and it would have the Ford, I believe it was Sync 3 computer. Hi, True Crime Fangirl from 44 minutes ago. All right, let me skip a bunch of these, sorry. I don't know what that's about. Oh, yeah, this is a good point to bring up. Wishful thinking, hello. Perhaps the other person involved is that guy who asked if he could be in trouble for licking someone. Oh, no. He said that he spit on one of the girls. So in the Frank's memo, there's like about 5 or 6 guys total that they mentioned that were named by these 3 law enforcement officers looking into a connection between Rushville, Indiana, a few guys there, and a few guys in Delphi. One of these guys apparently confessed twice to 2 of his sisters, which I've said previously, if I'm going to believe Rick's confession, shouldn't I believe the confession of this EF guy? And if I'm not going to believe the confession of this EF guy, shouldn't I not believe the confession of Rick? I mean, EF, his confessions were also to family members, not under like the pressure of talking to law enforcement officers. 2 of my issues, I would say, with this confessions of EF, I know that one of his sisters passed a lie detector test saying that he truly did tell her that. But I know one of the sisters said he was, I don't know, she said three different words. One was he was rambling, incoherent, and something else, which I've said previously sounds like me hosting a live chat. What else? One of the the law enforcement officers said this EF guy has the mental capacity of a 7 or 8 year old. So I don't know. He's obviously never been arrested. Also, one of his sisters had been interviewed by police 3 times. The first 2 times she said he never made any incriminating statements. It wasn't until the third interview that she admitted he confessed to her. So why is she lying to police the first two interviews? I'm not saying that she was lying the third time, but it's like, why would she not tell the truth the first 2 times? And isn't that the one of his sisters drove all the way to Delphi to tell police, like, you need to look into my brother even more. So at the trial, I want to know, what did police do to confirm or not whether EF truly was at the crime scene? They have his DNA, so they know it did not match him. Also, he apparently was not able to even drive, and Rushville is 2 hours away. So somebody would have had to driven him. I know there were certain issues brought up in the Franks memo saying his phone was not used on the day of the murders from, I think, 10:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. And the defense seemed to insinuate that he could have been one of this guy. There's some kind of strange looking guy around the start of the private drive around 8:30 a.m. And the local homeowner, the married couple, pulled back home, and they passed right by this guy, and they said he looked, I don't know, suspicious, and then he kind of disappeared. The Franks memo kind of insinuated this could have been this EF guy. So if police have his phone data from 10:30 a.m. to 7:30 p.m., knowing that he did not use his phone, wouldn't they have phone data showing that his phone was traveling from Rushville to Delphi? He would have had to have left his home like 6:30 a.m. to reach this private drive in Delphi by 8:30 a.m. So some of the stuff about this EF Odinus guy is suspicious, but what did police do to apparently clear him? Wow. I'm not going to repeat that, but I will put it on the screen. Yeah, I know. I lick my lips way too much, but I'm talking for a few hours straight. We're at 2 hours and 18 minutes. I'm going to stop at 2:30 a.m. Hi, outdoor loser. I haven't seen you for a while. I guess you've been outside for a long time. I'm surprised Richard Allen's defense isn't trying to blame Ron Logan. Well, they have access to at least most of the evidence by the time they did the Franks memo. I don't know. Some people still believe that Ron was Bridge Guy and the killer. That was my ankle that cracked, if you heard that noise. Um, Police never arrested Ron for at least like 4 to 5 years after they searched his house, which I still don't understand. You find two murdered girls on somebody's property, even though it's kind of far from his house. How is that not enough to look in Ron's house that same day on the 14th? It took a year, not a year, a month for them to search Ron Logan's house. I don't know. Hi, Annie. Nice to see you as always. Thank you so much for your generosity. I appreciate you and all your nice comments. And people who leave mean comments. I referenced a few of them before. I haven't seen this screen name in a while. BGBPW. Hello. I'm just worried if Rick is guilty, they won't have a solid case against him. I wonder if the additional charges were a bluff play to make it seem like they have more to go on. I've heard stranger things. I don't know. Is McClelland really going to bluff in such a huge case? And what are the consequences if Baldwin and Rosie call him on it and a jury doesn't think and a jury doesn't buy it? Is McClelland going to risk? Well, now it's, as I showed before, I guess there's 6 total charges. So if the jury doesn't believe the murder charges, they can still charge Rick with kidnapping by itself, I think. Oops, KT number 3. Hi to 314 people watching. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Simulation says there are women's motorcycles that are smaller size. Maybe he had one of those. All right, good point. Before I was saying, I don't know how somebody 5'4" could ride a motorcycle. I'll delete that from the replay. Anything that makes me look like an idiot. Which is like the entire chat. Okay, here we go. Look, you guys are giving like tech support to people in the chat, so. AS, the psychiatrist, says you can't refuse to sleep. There is no such thing. The warden, people like get triggered when I say the warden is reliable. The warden, I'm pretty sure at the June 15th hearing, or maybe some kind of filing, he said Rick was refusing to eat and sleep. At a certain point, don't you like automatically you can't stay up even any longer? Anne says, I kind of don't understand why everybody thinks the jail prison guards would be so fixed on Lil Ricky. They've seen see much worse criminal chumps than him. The part I don't really understand about this confession, which everybody must get triggered every time I bring up confession. If Rick hates being in this small cell, did I talk about this a few hours ago? I don't know. And he's so scared by these guards. Why is his solution to getting away from the guards is to call his wife and say, I'm guilty, where the solution or the result of that is he's going to be with these guards and in that cell for the rest of his life. I mean, that does not add up to me. But Janie disagrees and says, spoiler alert, Rick Allen is not Bridge Guy. I agree that I don't see his face in it, in the Bridge Guy video, but the blurriness is just ridiculous. So who do you think Bridge Guy is? Janie or Janny? I never know what to say. I'm going to call you Jay Lane from now on. That way I'll get it right. Anne says Rick likely lost weight because no junk food or booze. I'm really surprised that prisoners have cell phones in prison and they make TikTok videos. I've not read like a lot of stuff or watched a lot of videos about prisons, but I've heard like there's so much quote unquote contraband that gets smuggled into prisons. It's insane. That's just something I wanted to share. The simulation says Alex Murdaugh, sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, got to wear street clothes to court until he was convicted. Yeah, why not get Rick a suit or something? He does deserve to be treated just like everybody else who's not been convicted. I guess people were talking about Rick's medication. there was some kind of reference in the latest motion to transfer last week. Rick said, what did he say? He said he seemed to be confused about what kind of medication he was being given and taking. Somebody in my comments said, sometimes if they run out of a certain type of medicine, like they might have like, most medicine I think is in milligrams. So they might have like a 2.5 milligram or 5 milligram pill that they have to like break up into different sizes, or maybe a different generic brand might be a different color. So I don't know, Rick, if he has some kind of confusion about what kind of medicine he's being given, that obviously needs to be resolved. And why is it not resolved? Why is he confused after a year of taking medication? Actually, I was curious because I think in the April 5th motion to modify the safekeeping order, where the defense initially said Rick is acting schizophrenic, I think at the beginning they said it's assumed that Rick met with a mental health professional when he first went to Westville and was given medication. I wonder, like, why would Baldwin and Rosie not ask Rick himself? There's been a few different instances where Baldwin and Rosie make some kind of comment, and I'm like, why are you not asking Rick for the answer? Obviously, some people have said, well, Rick is talking like he's lost his mind, so they can't get a coherent answer from him. I don't know. AS, not Anthony Schatz, you can't refuse to sleep. If you don't sleep, it's sleep deprivation. AS has sleep deprivation because she wrote the wrong letter. I'm kidding. We see psychosis or some sleep deprivation, fear-induced paranoia. Hi, Andrew. Didn't Rick describe himself as wearing the same clothes as Bridge Guy that day? The things that matched were the jeans. He said a blue or black jacket. Rick's wife in 2022 said Rick still owns a blue Carhartt jacket. I don't know. From what I see of Bridge Guy, I'm sure you all have seen it too. Whatever is in his front pocket, there is some kind of outline. So is that material of that jacket a windbreaker, like one of the juveniles said? But one of the other juveniles said it was more like a duck canvas, which from what I've seen is like a very, not very hard, but it's a thicker material like Carhartt jackets, which would not show the level of detail of whatever, if that's a gun in Bridge Guy's front jacket or not. So I don't know. So Bridge Guy and Rick both covered their heads. I don't know if Rick ever said if he was wearing boots or sneakers. Obviously, Bridge Guy does not appear to be wearing like a traditional white sneaker or anything. But police did take 2 pairs of boots from Rick's home on October 13th. Let me skip to a bunch. Sorry. I'm going to stop in a few minutes. BG, not Bridge Guy. Can anyone clarify for me? When Rick was first arrested, there was a buzz about him using a code name or a fake name in his life. I haven't heard a thing about it since. Must not have had relevance. In one of the legal documents, it said Craig Ross Renfro as an alias, not a fake name. As you said, from what we've seen, nothing else has come about that. There is another guy in Indiana with that name. Somebody or a few people online have said there was some kind of clerical error, which, surprise, surprise, that truly was not an alias that Rick used. So we'll have to wait for the trial to see if that comes up at all. Let's see. Hi, Heather. Fair Maiden Win says the weapon in Bridge Guy's pocket outline looks like a Glock. Rick had a P226 6 hour, so I'm not sure. It looks like it could be the outline of a gun, to me at least. Ooh, what are we doing? Wishful thinking. So are we thinking Rick gave his street name as his last name? I would not say that. I'm not thinking that. I think the conservation officer may have said, "Where do you live?" And he's like, "In Delphi." He said, "Which street?" Rick says, "Whiteman." The conservation officer writes down Whiteman on this piece of paper that might have been like a blank piece of white paper. And he wrote like Richard Allen at the top, and maybe right next to that, he wrote Whiteman. And whoever input it into the system thought since Allen could be a middle name too, maybe the person who entered it said, "Oh, his middle name is Allen." I don't know. But I just don't understand how that could prevent following up with this person. They have his phone data, or it's like, I don't know, it's IMEID or something like that. I don't know. Sorry. When is this live chat over? I'm so tired right now. Sally says, as a member of the jury, we need so much more proof. Well, we have to remind ourselves that we have not seen everything that the prosecution has and everything that the defense is going to say too. Oh my gosh. Should we end on that note? No, something more positive. Heather says, keep an open mind, darling. It's always hard to understand why anyone admits to murder if they didn't do it, but it does happen a lot, as we all know. I am keeping an open mind, but I'm being honest that certain things don't add up to me about it, especially the timing of saying he was fined for 5 months and meets with the defense team, gets some documents, and then confesses the same day. Hi, Maggie. Where are you, Australia? Kevin says, is there now a revised transcript of the audio from Libby's video? I heard Murder Sheet say the girls said he's got a gun. Has that been released publicly? In the PCA, it says one of the girls references a gun. And then police officers have said they believe on the audio, they can hear Bridge Guy pulling back the top of the gun to intimidate the girls to go down the hill. Three more comments and then time for bed. Dave says Richard is guilty with 4 exclamation points. Some people think he's innocent, so I would suggest nobody really say for sure. I'm 100% certain that Rick is innocent or guilty. We have to wait for the trial, especially today with McClelland saying we now feel like we have evidence to prove that Rick is not only a bridge guy, but also the person who killed him. The simulation, Ron DeSantis wears high-heeled footwear to make himself taller. Rick could have done the same. I don't know. Well, police have his boots to see if he had high heels on them or something. I don't know. I'm kidding. All right, that was one. I have 2 more left to go. Sorry, I'm just looking for something we haven't talked about. Oh my gosh. Yeah, please be respectful to each other, even though the chat's ending. Moderators, if somebody crosses the line, just ban them. Wishful thinking. If they can't get a coherent answer from him, then he cannot participate in his defense and needs to go to psych hospital until he is competent to assist. Well, so we've been talking about April 3rd. April 14th at Westville, he was evaluated with or by 2 psychiatrists and 1 psychologist. And it was stated they did not feel like he had to be given involuntary medication and did not need to be moved to a psych hospital. Some people have said even the mental health professionals at Westville are in on this conspiracy theory to kill Rick. I don't agree with that. I think people who get into mental health, like AS, who's in this chat, did you get into mental health to help people? Like, even though you work at a prison, are you going to be like, oh, I don't care about this guy. Let me just say that he's fine, so I don't have to keep interviewing him or something? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. All right, final comment. It's going to be what? Oh my gosh. All right, this is the second to last one. Lori, thank you so much for sharing your experience. I worked in the jail and all they eat is honey buns and homemade hooch. I don't even know what that is. I probably shouldn't have even highlighted this comment. B night is ghastly. Oh my God. All right, next. Hello? What is the last comment of the day? I'm going to do this. Jay Lane, yes, we don't really agree on much, but I appreciate you coming here to share your alternative theories, let's call it. I appreciate you too. And I hope you have a good night. When is my next live chat? I don't know. It was going to be when the Supreme Court issued their ruling. So as I've said before, expect the unexpected. We'll see what Judge Gull does with the Franks hearing request. So we have to get through that, this motion to suppress. If I have to say what I think about the Franks memo, I think, not to trigger people at the end of the chat, I would not allow for the Franks hearing or the evidence collected to be thrown out. I feel like even with the supposed lies that Liggett left out of the PCA, I still feel like they had enough to search Rick's house. Feel free to disagree. What else do we have? Who gave a gift? S-Jab, thank you for your kindness. Hopefully haters didn't get them for free. I'm kidding. All right, everybody, have a good night, a good day, wherever you are around the world. No, not Jay Lane. Delete. I'm kidding. I look forward to debating you in the future. And I'm not saying you're wrong, at least until the trial's over.